Hey there, today I wanted to make a video for a tier list. I've seen some tier lists float around and I thought I haven't done one myself, so I want to do one. I'm gonna try and keep this short and simple. Let's start with the sub DPS / main DPS characters. The main DPS will start here, and then we have the support characters for last. MC is the first one up. I don't think it needs to be explained, but MC is a S+ character. And I hope that MC continues to be an S+ character throughout the entire game's history. Gacha games have a trend of power creeping the MC, but for story relevance, I actually feel like it fits MCs in the story a lot better if they are an S+ character, and I hope the NTE devs keeps all the new elements for MC S+ as well, and maybe give them the same E ability. Next up we have Hathor. She can main DPS and she can sub DPS for teams like Shinku. She does provide crit rate, which is a pretty decent buff. But she isn't that good of a main DPS, so where should we put her? I personally think she belongs in B tier. Then we have Daffodil. Keep in mind these characters are all rated at A0, besides the 4 stars at C or A6. Daffodil at A0 is pretty weak and she's really hard to play. For a lot of casual players I would put her in E tier, but I'm assuming you are a little bit better at the game for this tier list. If you want me to make a casual player tier list, I can do that for sure, but if we are taking an advanced player, I would put Daffodil in B tier, considering she is a quick swap character for the Lacrimosa team and for the Baicang team, and she does have value in break intensity outside of those teams as well. But she does suffer from being hard to play, suboptimal in a lot of times, and Discord not being the best reaction currently. Skia, where should we put him? He is a main DPS as well. He can play as one, although I don't recommend it. He's also a sub DPS kinda for the Shinku team, but he doesn't really provide any damage, and you leave him at level 30 for the most part, unless you have a lot of resources to spare. Personally, I think there are better main DPSs than him that are not limited characters, and I don't think they are quite Hathor level maybe. So for now I will put Skia in D tier. Then we have Jiuyuan, one of the only 3 groupers unless you count Baicang. Then you technically have 4, but she's one of 3 groupers. Well, how good groupers are currently and how needed they are for AoE flaws, in my opinion. She also has a decent amount of damage, and she has her usability in the Bloom Gatling Gun team, where she is a mandatory character, which is a really strong team comp. But she doesn't have any buffs at all really to speak of, outside of her copies. She does get a bit better with copies obviously, but currently I think she belongs in A tier. Hotori. Oof, she is hard to place. She is really hard to place, cause currently she doesn't really belong in the Bloom team anymore, in my opinion. Iroi Bloom team is better than Hotori Bloom team. Hotori can be put on Lacrimosa team, but it's not optimal. But she does have a time stop, which is really useful for BTR. But at the same time, she isn't really crazy in the current meta. So she is very hard to actually place accurately. She has to go in either S or A tier. For now, I will put her in A tier. I might change that later. Then we have Mint, a main DPS. Honestly, Mint is a pretty good main DPS, but she does lack some stuff. I'm tempted to put her B tier with Hathor, but Hathor does have sub DPS capabilities, so does Mint. But Mint isn't really used in Bloom team anymore, and she's only really used with Chiz if you don't have the limited characters. So I mean, she can be used instead of Iroi in the Bloom team and stuff like that, but currently I feel like I should put her in C tier. Then we have Chiz. Oof. Chiz is actually pretty decent damage, but the higher you go, the less she scales. So she definitely does eventually get power creep just because she doesn't scale as well. At level 80 she is worse than she was at level 70 and level 60. But she's also really hard to play, she's really clunky, she has her mechanic, her shop mechanic where she has to get her gold, and her E can be walked out of by mobs, it can be cancelled. There is so many issues with Chiz that personally I think I'll leave her in B tier for now. Then we have Aurelia. I actually think Aurelia is better than Mint purely because she can hit flying targets without any issues, and her DPS is still solid if you do build her. At least for the current DTR, but I still feel like she has to be in C tier because she's nowhere near the level of Chiz. Do we go Lacrimosa or do we skip her? Where do you think Lacrimosa will fit? Do I even need to say anything? She goes in S tier. I mean, she is just universally the best character in the game, I think. She has to go S tier. Chaos, ooh, a bit of a controversial character here. As a limited character and a main DPS, I think Chaos has to go in A tier. He just isn't on par with the other limited DPSs, so I think he only can go in A tier as he can't quite reach that S tier spot. Nanally. Nanally has her spot in Bloom team. She also can work with Hotori, and mostly in Bloom team where she is a hyper carry. She can also work in Shinku team, so she has a lot of actual uses, and personally I would put Nanally in S tier. Shinku, the character that has a lot of controversy and a lot of people think she is weak. Where would I put Shinku? Personally, I actually think A0 Shinku is just fine, and honestly she is better than Chaos when I tested her at A0 personally. So I'm gonna put her in S tier. I actually think she's viable in S tier. And you also have the option of putting Iroi on her team. You can put Nanally on her team. You can use Jiuyuan on her team if you want to, although it's a little bit worse. You have options to put on Shinku team, so she is fine, but she's a bit more of a premium S tier character. Baicang. Where do we put this guy? He has a really decent damage and grouping capabilities actually. He kinda can be played without a grouper as he can group the mobs himself. And he does also have decent damage with his animation cancel. Although his best partner is with Daffodil as a quick swap. I don't think Baicang is quite Chaos level, but I do think he is easier to play than Chiz for the most part, and he does have his own grouping abilities. So personally I would put him in the same spot as Chiz currently. That is at least my opinion. That is all of the main DPSs listed. Let me know in the comments if you agree with the list so far. Let's get into the support characters. I have seen a lot of casuals use Edgar and say they actually need Edgar to clear PTR. But as a bit of a more advanced player, the only thing I have to say about it, what do we need healing for? Just touch, forehead. Adler. He has a spot in Lacrimosa team which is an S+ character, but Adler has been replaced, and I do think he's gonna be potentially replaced in 1.3 as well. And again, it's a character that only really offers survivability for the most part. And you know what I think about survivability characters. He's going in D tier, but just because he has a bit more uses than Edgar. Fadia. Another support character that does survivability. but she does have damage. She actually does a decent amount of damage. Where do we put her? Honestly, I think she belongs in D tier. She just crawls out of E tier just because she actually does damage herself. Hanel. Ooh, where does Hanel go? She's one of 3 buffers in the current game. And well, how good buffers are in the current game, I honestly think that the only place to really put her, especially since a lot of people have her A6, which gives a crit damage buff as well. And her E and Q does scale together. And her E ratio might not be the best base attack ratio, but it is still pretty decent. I would honestly rank her in S tier. Iroi. She has grouping capabilities which other supports don't have, that has buffing capabilities outside of Sakiri, but she also doesn't have that good buffs. Her buffs are worse than Hanel, but she does have grouping and she does have better premium teams, and she does enable the Blossom Gatling Gun team, which Hanel can't. So for that reason, I have to put her in S tier as well. Then we have Sakiri last. Where should we put Sakiri? Does she go in S tier as well? Honestly, she has grouping. She has the best buffs in the game. I said we are ranking them on A0, so she doesn't have a A1 buff. But arguably, even without her A1 buff, I think she's a step above the rest. Iroi with her A1 is also... I would argue Iroi with A1 is actually better than Hanel, but without A1 she is worse. But Sakiri is still above both of them. And I have to give her S+ tier. I think she's the one character that actually deserves S+ tier out of the support DPSs, or the support characters. I think Iroi honestly might almost go down to A tier at some point in this game, depending on the value of Hanel with the new characters. Iroi's main value comes from a blue team currently. What do you think about my tier list? Is this completely crazy talk? Do you think I ranked any of the characters wrong, and why did I rank them wrong? And what would you change for this tier list? I know the tier list is a bit confusing because we have all the support and main DPSs and sub DPS characters in one entire list. And obviously if you're looking at Daffodil in the same spot as Chiz, you'd be, what the hell is going on? But if you're looking at the main DPSs specifically, Lacrimosa, Nanally, Shinku, Chaos, and then we get Chiz, Baicang, then we get Mint Aurelia. Well, we have Hathor here, but I'm ranking her as a sub DPS, not as a main DPS. And then we have Skia as kind of a main DPS. I think if you just look at the main DPS aspects, they are ranked pretty fairly. That is everything for my tier list video. I hope it wasn't too long, and if there's anything I didn't explain enough, let me know in the comments below and I will try and explain it further if there was anything you didn't quite understand. I do think I do think that Hathor and Daffodil look a bit weird in the B tier with Chiz and Baicang, but looking at the overall picture, I think they actually deserve to be here, because Jiuyuan is one of the few sub DPSs that are actually A tier. You could say I'm ranking all of the sub DPSs too low, and they should be ranked higher. Like, you maybe would want her in S tier because she is a grouper, and then maybe you put these up here in A tier, but honestly I feel like this is a decent ranking. Anyway, that's everything for this video. Hope you enjoy and hope to see you next time.